The veil was crooked. I can still feel Mara's fingers fixing it, cool and sure against the back of my neck. The room around us buzzed with perfume, hairspray, the distant sound of laughter, but all I could focus on was her touch. Just a few seconds too long, just enough to make me hold my breath. She stepped back, her dark eyes catching mine in the mirror. "Perfect," she whispered, almost like it was a secret meant only for me. I walked down the aisle minutes later, Daniel waiting at the altar with that steady, boyish smile that had always made me feel safe. We said our vows, we exchanged rings, we kissed while everyone cheered, and for a moment I let myself believe this was everything I had ever wanted. But when I looked past him, there she was, Mara, standing among the bridesmaids, her lips curved in a soft smile, like she was holding something back. At the reception, she kept appearing, fixing my train, brushing a curl from my face, handing me champagne. She leaned close to ask, "You okay?" And her knuckles grazed my cheek. I nodded, but my throat felt tight. When we left through a tunnel of sparklers that night, everyone cheering, I turned back one last time. Mara wasn't holding a sparkler. She just stood there watching me, her hands clasped, her eyes steady as if asking me silently, "Are you sure this is what you want?" The morning after the wedding, Daniel slept in while I stood by the hotel window, wrapped in a robe, staring at the wet street below. My phone buzzed, a message from Mara. It was a photo from the reception, me laughing with my head thrown back, looking carefree in a way I hadn't felt in months. Underneath, she'd written, "You looked like yourself last night." I stared at that message for a long time before typing back, "Dinner? Just us?" A week later, we sat in a small wine bar, knees touching under the table. She smelled like rain and bergamot tea. At first, we talked about light things, the cake, the flowers, who had gotten drunk. But then she looked straight at me and asked, "Are you happy?" I wanted to lie. I wanted to tell her yes, but all I managed was a whisper. "I'm trying." It was raining when we left. She grabbed my hand to guide me across the street, and when we got to the other side, neither of us let go. "Good night," she said softly, but her thumb brushed against my palm, like she couldn't help herself. And then I kissed her. Just once. Quick, hesitant, charged with everything we weren't saying. When I pulled back, my heart was hammering in my chest. "We can't," I breathed. "I know," she whispered back, rain dripping down her face. "But we did." That night, I lay next to Daniel, staring at the ceiling, hearing the rain, replaying that moment over and over until sleep finally came. 2 nights later, Mara came by with a book I had lent her years ago. "Didn't trust the mail," she said with a smile. I let her in. We sat in the living room with tea, talking until the clock passed midnight. At one point, I started crying, not out of sadness exactly, but because it felt like she could see through me in a way no one else did. She wiped my tears gently, her thumb warm against my cheek. "Stay," I whispered. She did. We didn't cross the line that night. Not really. But I rested my head on her shoulder under the throw blanket, and she held my hand loosely, her thumb tracing soft circles on the back of it. When I woke at 3 a.m., she was still awake, just watching me with an expression I couldn't name. Morning light poured through the curtains. Mara was already in the kitchen, making coffee like she belonged there. She handed me a mug, her fingers brushing mine, and for a brief moment I let myself imagine this was my life. Sunlight, quiet mornings, Mara's easy smile. And then Daniel came home early. He stopped in the doorway, grocery bag in hand, eyes darting between us. Mara stood quickly, offering him a polite smile, murmuring that she had to go. After that morning, I tried to be the wife I thought I should be. I cooked more dinners, I laughed at his jokes, I held his hand at the movies. But Daniel wasn't blind. One night, while we were washing dishes, he asked, "Are you in love with someone?" I froze. I could have lied, but I didn't. "Yes." He went quiet for a long time. "Do I know her?" he finally asked. "Yes." The silence after that was deafening. The next morning, he packed a bag. There was no yelling, no slammed doors, just a hug at the front door, the kind of hug that says "I love you." but I can't stay. When the door shut behind him, I sat on the kitchen floor until the light changed, until my phone screen blurred with tears. Then I texted Mara. It's done. Not for you, for me. She came over that night. When I opened the door, we just stood there for a moment, breathing the same air, neither of us moving. I didn't choose you to replace him, I said quietly. I chose me. And when I did, you were there. She stepped forward, her arms around me before I could finish the thought, and I felt myself break open, relief, grief, and joy all tangled together. We cooked dinner together, shoulder to shoulder in the kitchen, laughing when we spilled pasta water on the floor. Afterward, we kissed under the kitchen light, slow and deep, no more hesitation. We spent the night on the couch, tangled under a blanket, whispering secrets in the dark until our voices were hoarse. At some point, I fell asleep with my face pressed against her collarbone, her hand resting lightly on my back. When I woke, morning light spilled over her hair, and she was smiling like she hadn't slept all night but didn't care. We made breakfast together, toast, eggs, coffee, and ate, standing at the counter, grinning like teenagers. I'm not telling you this story because it's simple. It isn't. It hurt people. It broke things. But it made me whole. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is admit that the life you built isn't the life you're meant to live. Sometimes you have to walk away from the person you thought you were to find the one you really are. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, someone is waiting there when you finally do, with coffee, with sunlight, with love that feels like home.